Sarah Cox.
And I'm Mark Westcott, and welcome to the Power of Great Questions. Today I'm absolutely excited to be introducing Keith Abraham to the session we're running today. Keith's been a friend of mine for some time. He's a world premier thought leader on passionate performance, and I love the area that you've taken to specialise in, Keith. And you really work with passion-based cultures, and CEOs of billion-dollar companies absolutely come to you, don't they, Keith, and seek your advice. But more importantly than creating the business passionate performance, you've been working with people to help them find their passions and so on. And in the meantime, you've managed to win the Nevin Award. Is that correct, Keith?
That's correct, yes.
The highest honour for professional speaking in Australia, and you've also been named the Keynote Speaker of the Year by the Australian National Speakers Association. So I'm a little nervous here talking to you today, Keith, because you'll be able, maybe you can give me some tips at the end of this on how I should present better.
You're doing a great job so far.
Is that noise again? But having said that, you've written 3 great books. You've got another couple on the go, and a children's book, which is interesting to hear. And you've just released your latest book called It Starts With Passion, and that's already shot up the charts. You're number 11 on the top 40, I understand. Correct?
Yeah.
It's probably gone higher since you wrote this.
Yeah, at number 11 on the top 11.
No, you're in the top 11. It doesn't matter whether you're number 1 or number 11. Keith, you're there, and I'm not.
No, you're double 1, which is 11.
No, that's great. No, Keith, great to chat with you today. And I know Sarah's busting to ask you a question, so I'm going to hand over to her.
Love it.
Keith, we're very passionate about the power of great questions. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, questions always lead to great answers, and the quality of questions it truly is the most unique way to build a relationship with anybody. I always remember a great story in How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and he had the opportunity to talk to, I think it was Woodrow Wilson, who was a president in the United States. And he said he was a great conversationalist. And the reason why everyone thought he was a great conversationalist is because he asked lots of questions.
Isn't that interesting? I do get that as well. You know, you can go and start a conversation with someone and you can tell them nothing about yourself. You can ask them 3 good questions, and at the end of it, they walk away and say, "Isn't Mark a really great guy?" And I think, they don't know anything about me. How can they make that?
And how interesting was he?
That's right. So you're absolutely correct. Great questions are the key, aren't they?
They sure are, and I just know it. You know, whether it's in a sales situation or building a relationship with somebody or connecting with somebody, the more questions we ask along the way, and the key here is quality questions. The better quality questions, we start to truly get an insight into that person or that situation or that challenge they're facing, and that really is powerful. And it's an art, by the way. And it's an art that lots of people are losing because of electronic devices that we use.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I do just want to take you back for a second here, Keith, if I may. You've had great success over the years. I mean, I've known you for a long time. You've been a legend on the speaking circuit, certainly in the financial services area, and certainly with a number of the motor manufacturers and so on. But do you? And I'm probably doing this. I'm doing a job for you already here. But can you just talk about the things you're most proud of in regard to where you've come from and where you are now?
Look, there seriously isn't a day that doesn't go by that I think I'm just so fortunate because, really humble beginnings. I grew up on the farm. I was hopeless at school, and somewhere along the way, I got a chance to develop myself through a Rotary program called Ryla. And all of a sudden, it was like the shutters got taken off. And I got this opportunity to sort of say, geez, maybe I've got some potential to be somebody or to do something or to achieve something. And so I think, when you talk about what am I most proud of, I'm most proud of the quality of the business that I've built over almost 20 years now as a professional speaker. I have clients that are still with me since day one. I have clients that use me on a regular basis, untraditionally in their industry or in their business. Such as Toyota, for example. I've been now working with them for 14 years straight. And about 7 years ago, I said to them, look, I look around at at you and some of the people like me that you use them once, and not because they didn't do a bad job, but you're on to the next thing. How come, you've kept on using me all the way along? And they said, you know what, you know us and we know you, and you've taken the time to get to know us and build and just, you feel like part of the family. So I have more of a deep relationship. So deep relationship with my clients, the difference that I make with people through the workshop that we run called Passionate Performance. And I think if there was a third thing is that I've been able to build a lifestyle that helps me to pursue the things that I'm really passionate about, and that's making a difference.
Yeah.
Great. And Keith, if you look into the future and your vision, what excites you about the future and what's going before you?
I tell you, one of the things that really excites me is that I really think I'm starting to, at the ripe age of 54, really starting to get a really good handle on exactly what I want to do and the difference that I want to make. And I just see now more than ever, there's technology that supports that, but now more than ever, people are looking for greater connections, not communication, but greater connections with people. And so what excites me is being able to connect with more people anywhere in the world.
Globally.
Yeah, great answer, Keith. You've got it. You and I have spoken before, and I get excited every time I hear about your vision for the future. And there is so much opportunity out there, isn't there? And you're going to chase it, and you're going to track it down. And I wish every best thing for you. So, but one thing I did want to come back to, and that is, when we talk about great questions, now. I'd like to start by maybe if you can give away 2 or 3 things that you ask people when you speak with them that create the greatest value for them. So and I know you're very good at this. So what are your 3 top questions?
The first question that I love to ask is the one that says, what's most important to you? And as simple as that sounds, what that identifies is that don't ask the question unless you want to know what the result is at the end of it. And by asking what's most important, you start to tap into people's values. As you know, Mark and Sarah, everybody has 5 driving emotions. Well, and some more, but those buying motives are 5. People, price, convenience, service. Price, convenience, service, quality. And the last one there, I'll come back to it in a moment. But
we'll remind you of it later, okay?
Yeah, that's right. Remind me of it later. And there's a secret prize for those people.
Right.
Yeah. Great. What do we get?
But when you ask that question, you start to understand what that person's driving motive is. And once you understand what their driving motive is, then you can position your product the right way that relates to them. The second question is, how best do I add value to you? And the third question that I really love is, in essence, is saying to people, what do you think the next step is? Because I like to ask that question because that's the close. And in essence, I want people to say, look, I think the next step is that we need to do a pilot program, or we need to put a proposal together, or I need to get the exec team together, and when you get people that are involved in the close themselves, isn't that so much easier to sell and to promote and to convert?
When you ask your important questions, if you think about the difference it's making to people's lives, can you tell us what sort of progress they make from those questions?
For a lot of times, when I'm running a workshop, I ran a workshop on Wednesday for a whole group of leaders, and the one thing that came back to people is, Keith said, they said to me, Keith, you didn't tell us anything new, but what happened was that we got to learn and discover something about ourselves that was left field, and you brought it to the center of our focus. And so when we start, I honestly believe that when you start asking questions to people, and when you start to ask them what's most important, what matters, and what makes a difference to them, you help them to remove the distractions and to be able to focus on something. And the challenge is now is that because there are so many options, people have so much to focus on, and they stop making decisions. So the progress is that people, focus and start to make decisions to move forward.
Keith, if and you all have heard this before, if you get 20 people to read the same book, you get 20 different reactions to the book, don't you? And it really depends. It's where people are in their life at the time they read the book as to what they get out of the book. And I think what you touched on a minute ago was the fact that you may have said that to them before. They weren't ready to hear it, were they? And all of a sudden you've asked them the same question exactly the same way, and all of a sudden they're in that moment where, yep, that's now appropriate that I send my brain to go and find the answer to that question. And so sometimes asking the same thing over and over isn't such a bad thing.
No, and in essence, Mark, sometimes people need to hear that same message, several times before they get it. I always say, look, some people are going to get it when you stand up in front of them. Some people are going to get it later, and some people are never going to get it. And
well, yes, you're right.
But that's the truth of it.
Yep.
And often when I heard a great speaker once, and they were talking about presenting to audiences, and they said, what you've got to understand is that some of the people in the audience need to hear that message 100 times before they get it. And you're just the 51st deliverer of the message. And so I know myself, and exactly the same here. I picked up books and I've read it. I'm going, that's okay. And I'll put it down and 3 years later, 5 years later, picked it up again and read it and thought, oh, wow, this is the best book I've ever read in my life. Yeah. What changed? Me.
You changed. That's what it was. The strategic coach thing about unique ability, when people get challenged, what are the three things you love doing, you're really good at, that generate the greatest results. I've seen guys in strategic coach for 15 years, and finally one day they'll turn up to the workshop and they go, I've finally worked it out. And you think, wow, the perfect clients, as Dan says, slow learners and good payers. So, it took them 15 years, but they finally got the answer.
Yeah,
Keith,
look, it takes time sometimes. I know myself, we're all on a journey. And I as much as I don't want to be a tree hugger in front of you, anything like that, I mean...
You can be.
It's okay.
Everything's perfect.
I'm a tree hugger.
Everything's perfect.
We've got a tree hugger next to me here, so it's okay, Keith. You can be a tree hugger. And I'm just going to cut in one more time before I get Sarah another chance to ask you.
Well, I'm going to cut in after you.
To ask another question. I just want to talk about your passion, Keith, which is, apart from your family, which is the passionate work that you do, talking about passion. And so what are the ways that you really help people to discover their passions? Because that's kind of, in some ways, that's a different conversation and a different question. How do you really drill down into people's emotions to work out what it is that really drives them, that allows them to wake up every day excited about what's coming ahead? What do you do there?
Well, a couple of things there, Mark. First, understand everyone's life is made up of four key parts. There are things that you love to do, there are things you like to do, there are things you have to do and things you hate to do. The challenge is that most people's lives are stuck in the things they have to do and hate to do. And when they're stuck in that, life, right? And hence the energy and the motivation is drained out of them. So the first thing I get people to say is, look, you've got to go and do the things that you love to do. And why? Because of the things that you're passionate about, because that gives you energy so you can go through the crud. To understand passion, you have to understand that passion fits into two categories. There are things that you love to do, that you make money from. I fit in that category. I love standing up and presenting. I love making a difference. I love writing. I love sharing. And I'm fortunate I get paid a great income to do that. The other is that you go and do the things that you like to do in your career to earn an income so you can go and do the things that you love to do. And so...
Like photography for you, Keith.
So what's that?
Like photography.
Yeah, like photography. I fell in love with photography about 7 years ago, and so I find it's my way of being an artist. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't paint. So I can at half take some decent photos. And it gives me a chance to be a learner rather than a teacher. And so I love that. The other thing there is around when we start talking about passion, we ask people, what do they love to do? What's important to them? What matters to them? What makes a difference? And when we start talking about a question, what type of legacy do you want to leave? What type of legacy do you want to leave that's bigger than you, that's outside of you, that lives on after you? That's important. The question I really love around when we start talking about passion is that if the money was handled, what would you love to do with your time, energy, if the money was handled?
Yeah.
And it gives people a cleaner slate, because most people get stuck around being passionate because, I have to be an adult, I have to provide for my family, I have to, and all of those things are valid, except that you also have to put yourself at the front of the line sometimes and give yourself back the opportunity to be joy-filled. And so that's the thing that energizes me, Mark. The work that I do is giving people permission, not that they need permission from me, by the way, but giving them permission to at least stop and think about what's important, what matters, what makes a difference to them, and for the people who mean the world to them.
Yeah, great answer, Keith.
Yeah.
I'm not asking another question, so I've still got a minute here. But I did love your conversation about the legacy as well. That's very close to my heart.
Yes.
As you know, asking people, what's important to them in regard to the legacy they leave. So,
yes.
But no, it's a great answer to that question, Keith. Well done.
Thank you.
Also for people to be inspired by what you do, and the fact that passion is sustainable. It keeps people keeping doing things so that they don't give up and they don't die at 25. There's a saying, I think there's a quote that says most people live to at least 75, but they die at 25. Well, passions just keep us sustainable and loving how we live our life. Letting us have the opportunity to love our life.
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. Because at the end of the day, life is a journey, and sometimes there's some ups and some downs and some challenges along the way. I keep on saying to people, the challenge I face today will be the character I need tomorrow. Yeah.
Which brings us back to the power of great questions. So asking people what their passions and their purpose are, what would you say once people realise their passions and purpose and really are congruent and they have a mind-body connection and they feel they're true to themselves, where do you take people after that and on that journey of questioning them?
Great question.
Yeah,
Great question.
Oh, wow.
If you were here too, you could do that too.
Boom.
Yeah, it was a good.
Sorry, up there.
I honestly believe, Sarah, there are four things again. You got passion, purpose, plan, progress.
PPP.
So if I've got all passion and no purpose, plan, or progress, well, I'm just getting excited about everything and anything, and I just can't wait to. I'm not sure what to do. Purpose without a plan is just good intentions, and just good intentions doesn't get the job done. Having a plan but going nowhere is not that great either, and making progress if it's heading in the wrong direction is not flash either. So to come back to the question, where do you take people? We have a process that we go through, and we say, okay, what are you passionate about? What's your purpose? And that is a big question.
Sure. Huge.
But what we say to people is, if you don't know what your life purpose is, that's okay. What's your purpose this year? What's your purpose this year? Oh, I want to be financially secure. I want to be a great, more connected mother, father, son, daughter. What is it exactly? And so that's important around purpose. And then of course we start to say to people, okay, let's put a plan in place. And we've got an 8-part process that helps people get very, very clear on what the goal is. If I've learned anything over the last 6 months, it truly is about having laser-like focus through such unique clarity that you know exactly what you want. So when you're putting it out there into the universe and to other people, you are sharing exactly what you want, not anything that's vague. And so when you work through those 8 parts, and I'm happy to share that with you, but when you work through those 8 parts, people all of a sudden get a connection. So they're not just interested in the goal, but they're truly connected, and with connection comes commitment.
Fantastic, Keith. Right.
And so once they've gone through that process, do you take them on the next, like in 2 years, 3 years? Or have they integrated and consolidated that process so they can just take it for the rest of their life?
Yeah. Firstly,
we always believe that in every workshop that I run, it's about giving people the tools so they can just keep on doing it. But we like to go from macro to micro. And so the macro is we get people to start with what are the 100 things you want to do in your lifetime. And then we say, what does it look like in 5 years' time? And then we say, if we look at those 8 key areas that make up your life, then more importantly, what are the key goals you want to achieve next 12 months? And then we say, what are those 3 key goals that you'd like to achieve in the next 12 months? We go through that 8-part process with people. And then the final piece of the puzzle is really micro. And micro is about the daily rituals that you have each day that generate the emotion that you want to feel, because every goal should have an emotional, mental, and physical connection. And unless you have those 3 in a line, and they line up with your driving values, unless you have those 3, you'll never be committed. You'll always be interested. It'll be logically sound. You'll have a beautiful plan all marked out, highlighted, etc.
Nice colours and everything, Keith.
But you'll never get it. The rubber won't hit the road.
Yeah, it's the action.
Yeah, and that's where people create rituals, and rituals form futures.
Keith, you've done a lot of work, as I said before, in both the motor industry and in regard to the financial services industry.
Yeah.
You will understand my take on this is that most salespeople, most people in the sales industry are very good at saying, "Hi, I'm Harry. Let me tell you about me."
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So in your
product.
And yes, like we talk about the BDMs, the brochure delivery managers. They'd turn up to the advisor's door and they'd say, "Hey, I've got this new product. You need to buy my stuff," without even ever asking a question about, "Hey, what do you need?" or "What are your situations?" or "How can I help?" How have and I know in your presentations you've done to those sorts of groups, you've touched on the power of questions and trying to uncover people's passions and so on. Yes. Tell me, what do you think is the stumbling block that stops a lot of people from focusing on who they're talking to, and what makes people revert to always wanting to talk about themselves to their peril?
Comfort zone. The comfort zone is whatever I'm used to. So if and most people are trained poorly. So the challenge is they say, look, they're not trained, or here's some brochures, go and talk to some people and sell stuff. Good luck.
Buy my stuff.
And I think one of the challenges there, I know one of the challenges is that people just truly don't understand that I need to first build, let's just position it this way. I need to communicate less but connect more. So communicating is, let me tell you about the product, let me tell you about the company, let me tell you about me. You know what? People don't give a flying fruitcake about who you are, what you sell, and how you do it until they know that you care about them. And the real challenge for most BDMs and people like that is that they're not equipped with the quality questions to go and talk to people and to understand, look, you know what my first goal is? Base camp, build a relationship, build trust, rapport, credibility, create a connection, start to build a relationship, make deposits in the person's emotional bank account, and when I've got enough of that in their emotional bank account, they'll do business with me.
Well, that comes from an authentic space of curiosity and being really interested in another human being. And when you ask a question, which is an important quality question of that person that you're wanting to connect with and engage with, that person feels that authentic connection, and then they will trust and respect you automatically. So it's not about some strategic, manipulative process. It's about authenticity and coming back to who you are, and then who the other person is that you want to connect with. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you just got to be real with people.
Yeah.
And by being real with people, by having that connect, by having a genuine, sincere interest in them first. And once you understand the genuine, sincere interest in them, then you can take them on a journey with you.
You touched on it right up front, Keith, and that was, and we all agree on this. It's all good questions are actually all about relationship, aren't they? Good questions are what create great relationships. And so I just want to put this question to you: what's your thought on if if any person had three really good questions that were appropriate to the market, let's say they're working in, or the business that they're involved in, if you could teach people to have three really good questions, do you think they'd get through life okay?
Yeah. Look, I think if you just have a philosophy of asking questions and being prepared to listen, and more importantly, listen to the underlying message, listen to the message behind what they're saying. You all of a sudden you just have better connections with people.
Absolutely, because some people, most times, a lot of people don't know what they don't know too. So you can ask a great question, and they don't know the answer necessarily because they're not even aware of what they've missed out on along the way. So I guess it gives a great question allows you then to open the dialogue and keep going and really dig more deeply into what their issues are. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I was getting a little dizzy there for a second, Keith, as you're moving your computer around.
It's the boat I'm on.
Well, it unravels the unconscious mind so that it's self-explorative and exploratory. So even on reflective thinking, that question stays in the mind for quite a long time. I guess that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Well, and the mind can't ignore a question, can it? No, so if you ask a question of someone too, the mind's not just going to say, "Oh, I don't want to answer that." It'll just go to work, and eventually you'll come up with an answer. So, for sure.
And I think also, you're right. Sometimes in asking the question, and I know I've done this, where you go and sit down with somebody and you're talking to them about their business, and you ask them a question, and you can see this, the blood drain out of their face, or the blank look come over them. And you go, geez, that's a great question, and whether they verbalise it or not, they go, geez, that's a great question, I don't know. And that's okay too, because you're right, you're taking people on a journey.
Well, also, too, when they don't know the answer, Keith, that's the opportunity for us to create value for whoever we are and whatever sort of business we're in. If you ask a great question and people really just haven't got the grasp of it, it gives you an opportunity to be really, really valuable for them, and that's what we're trying to do in our lives, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. At the end of the day, and I said this earlier, my greatest thing is, especially with people in business, I want to add value to their business. If I add value to their business, they won't have an issue in either paying my fee or getting me back a second time or whatever it might be. And the reason, sometimes people say, oh, we missed out on that, job because of price. And you go, no, you didn't miss out on a price. You missed out because they didn't believe it was of value. And when people can't see the value, they'll always make a choice on price. And so, the real key here is questions really are the greatest way to make a point of difference. Because if Johnny comes into the business and he says, here's my brochure, here's my, here's the product and you should do it, it's really fantastic, and it could be a great product. And then, Mary comes in there and says, oh, here's my product, here's my business, she could be fantastic as well. And then you come in and you say, you know what, I don't want to talk to you about any price. Let's talk to you about your business and your greatest concern. What keeps you awake at night, or what's most important to you when you deal with somebody, like me, or whatever the question is. And all of a sudden, the potential client goes, oh, this guy's different.
Yep, and that's what people are looking for.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, with the power of a great question, often it's the question that you yourself don't know the answer to, and that you're asking out of pure curiosity, and it allows for open dialogue and something quite unique for that person.
Yeah.
Keith, I just, I could go on. I think we could go on for another half an hour with you. I'm fascinated by the conversation we're having, but I just want to ask you in regard to your own business. Tell me, people who are fascinated in sort of pursuing their passion and hearing more about what you do and so on, what are the things that you do that would be really valuable for people who might be reading this or watching this? How do they get in contact with you?
Thank you. Really simple. They can contact me, keithabraham.com. The second thing they can do is they can log on to my blog. I do a blog and have done for probably about the last 5 to 6 years now, every Monday and every Friday, which gives you some great insights into the work that I do, but more importantly on how people can discover, pursue and live a passionate life. And the third thing, of course, is any of my books are always a great place to start. And you mentioned before, middle of in the next couple of weeks, actually, I'll launch another book which is called B. And you fill in the gap. Be passionate, be courageous, be bold, be brave.
B.
But it's for a specific age group, 13 in essence through to about 20. And,
fantastic, Keith. Great.
There's a lot of people don't get taught the goal setting process and in the schooling that they do. And we're just finding more and more people are coming to us, and because kids these days, and I say this, I have 2 teenage daughters in that age bracket, and fortunately they've seen me speak and they've hung around all of our friends and things like that. So they're pretty well directed. But a lot of parents now are sending, their young adults, year 11, year 12, first year, second year university students to our seminar that we do once a year, because they want them to have greater clarity. With clarity comes confidence, with confidence comes certainty, with certainty comes more consistency. And so they're the couple of ways when people can connect with us anyway.
Yeah, fantastic,
Great.
Keith, and great that you're doing something for young kids, because I believe that's the thing that's often missed, isn't it? Is teaching kids while they're still at school about goal setting and about what they can do to actually design their own life, because we can by thinking about things. Design
absolutely.
our own life. So hats off to you, Keith. Well done.
Merci.
Yeah.
So Keith, from us, as I say, we could go talking for ages. I've really appreciated it. It's been a fabulous conversation today, and we're certainly all on the same page in regard to the power of great questions. So until next time, Keith, look forward to talking to you again. I'm Mark Westcott.
And I'm Sarah Cox.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And remember the power of great questions.
Thank you.